Okay, we will call the May Public Safety and Transportation Committee meeting to order. I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Duckham, supported by Bear. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to the first opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Last chance for public comment. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Brings us to item number 4, committee items. I'd be looking for a motion to approve last meeting's minutes. Moved by Duckham.
Support.
Supported by Bear. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to May appointments. There's 2 openings. One is a long-time one that's been on here for a while on the Community Corrections Advisory Board. That is the Communications Media seat. I was notified a few minutes ago that there may be an applicant, but we don't have it with us. So I guess we'll see if we have that by Tuesday night's meeting.
It's Dennis Warden. I think he submitted.
He did.
Did he?
Did?
I just don't. I haven't seen it, but I've been told.
Okay, there is an applicant by the name of Dennis Warden. Would any of the committee members be willing to put forth?
Tell him who he is.
It is for the public seat for the Communications Media.
Yeah, Dennis Warden is the, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
He is the general manager, I believe, taking Jamie McKibben's place at the radio station. That with Jamie McKibben was the former member.
Okay, nominated by Duckham. Doesn't need support, does it? No. Okay, all in favor?
Discussion first.
Yes, absolutely. Commissioner Bear?
Do we have an actual application from this person that we can review?
According to Chairman Shotwell, we do. I do not have it with me at this time.
It got caught up in the electronic system. And Mike and I will make sure that it gets distributed to commissioners as soon as we get another copy. And all we're doing is recommending him to the board. Yeah. And if you want to send his name forward without recommendation, you can do that also.
That would be my preference because we don't have the actual form in front of us to look at.
Yeah, just do it with no recommendation.
Okay, so we'll move forward without recommendation since we don't have the application physically in front of us. And we'll move that to Tuesday night. The second position is a jury board position. It shows that it's on the Community Corrections Advisory Board, but it's actually a separate board. We do not have an applicant for that. Takes us to item C, District Court Courtroom Video Proceeding Upgrade. Hello.
Good morning. I was here last week talking in study committee about the district court upgrade. Not to belabor everybody's time, but if there's any questions, I guess.
Committee members, do we have any questions about these upgrades to the video system there at the courthouse? Okay, seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion to... Oh, so send it to the full board. Okay, moved by Bear, supported by Duckham. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Takes us to item D, Region 2 Planning Commission Annual Report. Hello, Grant.
Good morning, everyone. This is the annual report for the Jackson County Planning Commission. The Michigan Planning Enabling Act and the Commission's bylaws both state that there be an annual report to the county board annually. There are 9 members on the commission. Eric Beta is represents industrial and economic interests. Tim Burns is an at-large member. Roger Gades is the environmental interests representative. Pat Gallagher is an at-large member. Nancy Hawley is an at-large member. Ted Hillary represents educational interests. Russ Jennings is at-large. Mr. Corey Kennedy is the County Board of Commissioners representative, and Mr. Jim Vitito is the agricultural interests representative. Ms. Holly and Mr. Beta serve as the chair and the secretary of the Planning Commission respectively. Their immediate responsibilities of the Planning Commission include their coordinated zoning responsibilities, and in that case, they looked at 31 and made 31 recommendations regarding zoning amendments in 9 townships in 2021. Text amendments pertain to medical and recreational marijuana, shooting ranges, signs, solar energy, accessory structures, and industrial district standards, and that accounted for 32% of the zoning ordinance amendments requests, and rezonings accounted for the other 68%. There was one PA 116, farmland and open space preservation application that was recommended, that was brought forward to the board. And then the large project that the Planning Commission has been working on and that you have looked at in the past couple of months is the county master plan that is now out for public comment. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Committee members, Commissioner Bear.
Good morning, Grant.
Good morning.
Looking at your report, one item I want a clarification on. Page 2, text amendments pertaining to medical and recreational marijuana, shooting ranges. That's where I have a question. As an avid shooter, strong Second Amendment supporter, NRA Life member, I would like to know what were your recommendations relative to shooting ranges?
Well, if I don't really remember off the top of my head. It was a case in, I think, I don't remember. I'm sorry, sir. It was a case to go through and allow shooting ranges as a conditional use permit, if I remember correctly.
Mr. Chairman, will this be coming back up again at the full board meeting?
No, this is just a report, Commissioner Bear. I would suggest that if you have something specific, I'm sure Grant could look into it and forward you the information that you're looking for.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you, Grant.
You're welcome.
Committee members, are there any other?
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. This past quarter, we've done a total of 32 FOIAs that have been completed using the new QA software that was purchased. Before that, we did a total of 73. Did a total of 8 pings on cell phones. Those requests come from law enforcement. Dispatchers have went to quite a few trainings since they're back in person. 40-hour basic. Every new hire has to go to 40-hour basic and a 40-hour advance. Handling calls regarding missing and exploited children. Also crisis intervention for dispatch. We've been working with JSO, City Police, and Lifeways. We actually have a meeting tomorrow as well. Working with the state GIS department, GIS repository for local GIS, which will make our GIS data more useful for dispatch. Created a couple new alerts. Unfortunately, sometimes there's incidents that happen and we can't think about where every school is at in Jackson. And that actually happened during a very high priority call. So I put these alerts in so it notifies dispatch, law enforcement, and fire where every school is in, where every school is at within 1,500 feet of that incident from the school. Well, still working on reviewing the TX policy, which has to go to, after I'm completed, it goes to the 911 Advisory Board for their approval. Last week, we had our 911 Advisory Board meeting, Summit Township DPW, which I guess works with the Napoleon and Spring Arbor. They've been wanting to get on the state radio system here in Jackson. We did have the study that was sent down to us last week that they did review. I will be sending that out to you guys this month and hoping for you guys' resolution on allowing Summit DPW on the radio system. And I'll give you guys all the data that I have for radios, costs, things of that nature. But that'll be next month because it has to come before you guys. Change the slide for me. Next one. Thank you. These were the stats for the first 4 months of the year, well, 3 months, part of 4. Color down a little bit, mild winter. Next. This is the breakdown of, we've had 21 text calls so far this year. As you can see, we have more wireless use than we do wireline, the old cop lines, and still have VoIP as well. Next. Calls by the time of day, I think this is important to show as the majority of the business starts around 9 o'clock in the morning and goes until about 10 o'clock at night. Huge increase there. Next. The other graph I have is the total dispatch calls per day for fire departments, broken down by hours as well. Pretty much is the same time frame. And then the busiest days of the month as well. Next, please. And this is just a comparison 2020, 2021, and 2022 data on the top 10 calls that we have in Jackson. Of course, traffic stops are always the highest.
What is PWC?
Personal welfare check. Yep. Personal injury, car accident. Any more questions on those?
Commissioner Snow.
Okay. Can I send an email to you guys with the acronym so I don't put it out?
You know what, this time, that's not that important, but I think going forward, if we could just have a little more definition as to what those are.
Not a problem, I can do that.
Thank you.
Next, please. And mine got cut off. These are the total calls for the quarter, broken down by departments. Fortunately, mine's cut off, so. Comparisons 2021 and 2022. Next, please. I just kind of wanted to show you this data here. This is actually a huge data that is used for the ISO. I kind of just want to give you guys a little more information on it. So with us, we have to, our responses have to be within the fire department's protocols, protection association, then FPA. So last year, using structure fires, commercial fires, vehicle fires, grass fires, every call has to be processed within 60 seconds and 190 seconds. And that data just shows that we are meeting the recommendations by the insurance companies. 46% of the calls are processed within the 60 seconds. And 86% of the calls are processed within 106 seconds. Unfortunately, the data is about 5 pages, and it's about 13,000 lines, so it's huge.
Commissioner Duck.
You have the call by response time for the medical calls? That's not listed here, and it's getting to be a topic.
I can get those, actually. You talking about the ambulance runs?
Yes, yes, sir.
I can pull those from my record. My record would just show my data, though. It won't show the data from JCA, which actually we are working on right now. Paul Hood, he took over for the CEO that retired, so he's actually trying to get the data for us. So hopefully I will have the data from them as well.
Okay, well, the reason I'd like to see it is, of course, we're talking about streamlining the 911 calls for medical,
Correct.
and I'd like to see where we are, because the problem may not be with us, it might be on the other end dispatch, and I want to see where to put the money. Not necessarily just to fund yours and find out that you're doing the best of everybody. We don't know that.
No, and I'm trying to get that, and what I've asked for is, from our end, we have a call creation, when we received the call, when we created it, to when we dispatched it for our fire department, that data, yes. They are trying to give me their call creation, so when we transferred it to them, to when they dispatch, to when they arrival. So I'm trying to get 3 different data sources from them as
And
well.
how about their arrival time, too?
Yep, that was the 3rd one, yep,
Okay, thank you very much.
not a problem.
Commissioner Bear.
Good morning, Jason.
Morning.
Your MPSCS grade of service
Yes.
said you have a request of a non-first responder agency wishing to get on. Are you at liberty to tell us who that is?
Summit Township DPW.
Okay. Looking at the calls, the comparison of 21 and 2020, April seems very low. It's about 1/3 of January, February, and March, and 1/3 of what it was a year ago. Do you know why the calls were down that much?
Yes, when this template was pulled, the creation was just the beginning of the 4th month of April. So it was actually, yeah, it's only like 2 or 3 weeks worth. So right now, if I pull the data for April, it would give us the whole month. I think when I did do that, we were just about 400 shy from April last year.
Okay, so it's not the full
No,
month.
it's not the full
you're-
month.
And you're expecting, did I hear you right, 400 additional to be added to this?
No, I said I think we did about 400 shy of last year. About 400 calls for April shy of last year.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
I believe Chairman Shotwell had some remarks.
Good morning.
Morning.
Appreciate the hard work your office does and everything that you do to help protect us, especially dealing with COVID and everything else that's gone on. Going back to pinging, does that cost us more to ping a phone, or is it just an item that we can do every day?
We can do it. It has to meet certain requirements.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. But it's just a phone call we do to that agency or to that carrier.
Okay, and is there a cost?
No cost.
Okay? So does it give us location?
The last known location that the carrier has, yes.
Okay, so if I'm dealing with a 911 call where I have somebody who's down in the road or is in a car accident and they make a phone call to us and we lose it, do we have to get a court order to ping that phone line?
If we already had them on the phone.
Emergency.
Yeah, if we already had them on the phone, we would have at least the lat and long coordinates.
So our system right now, if I'm standing on the corner of South Jackson and Wickwire, is going to give you my lat and longitude.
It would depend on the phone you have, sir.
Oh, okay, that's why I'm asking.
Yep. If you have an iPhone 7 or early or later, 13, and you have the location turned on, we're gonna get within about 2-3 meters of you.
Okay, if we don't have that,
If you don't have that, we could get a tower, or we could
Okay.
get, within 60 meters to 300 meters.
because see, what I'm looking for is if we're able to ping when we have a 911 emergency and an accident, if we're able to help get vehicles there easier, because I know I've heard some 911 calls where people have no idea where they are.
That happens every day, actually, and most time we can find them. The only bad ones are the 911 only phones. We get no data from them at all.
Okay? Those answer my questions. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
No more questions. Thank you very much, Jason, for your
Thank you.
work. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Takes us to the Public Defender Quarterly Report. Mr. Fortino is here today.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right. Got basically the same stats that we've shown you before. The numbers stay pretty constant. We get cases in, we resolve cases. The numbers stay pretty much the same. But I'll start with the MIDC standards regarding continuing legal education. As of now, the attorneys in my office are all compliant. The attorneys that we contract with are compliant, so we're abiding by that statute. The plan for independence from the judiciary was implemented March 1st of this year. This office now screens all applications for indigent counsel. We take the information at the arraignment from the client, and basically, if they are incarcerated, unemployed, if they are receiving benefits from the state or federal government, or they're above 200% of, below 200% of the federal poverty line, they get an attorney. We've been seeing a lot of conflicts, multi-defendant cases, cases that clients that we'd had before coming back in with other clients that we'd had before at different times. So we have been sending out those conflicts, and we're preparing for the implementation of Standard 6. That would be the number of cases each attorney can handle. Now, with felony attorneys, I can handle up to 150 cases per year. Misdemeanor attorneys can handle up to 400 cases per year. That's going into effect soon. I can't recall the exact date because we're already gearing up for that. We've been working on that pretty hard. I've given you some numbers. The felonies that we opened this year, 379. Felonies opened in the first quarter is 304. Capital cases opened this year, there were 2 homicide cases, 5 criminal sexual conduct cases, and 3 other Class A felonies that we have handled. Some of these have gone to trial. Actually, the 2 homicide cases have gone to trial. There were convictions in both cases. One was a lesser included, another was to the charge, but some of the other charges fell at jury trial. The other cases are important. They're serious cases. They haven't gone to trial yet, but they will. I've also included the caseload of each attorney in the office, and you can see those. They range from 104 down to 6, of course, 6 being me. Generally, Eric Goes had 59. Eric Goes resigned recently. He took a job in Washtenaw County, which seems to be a real trend. Washtenaw County seems to be sucking up a lot of the attorneys in this area. David Jones has got 5. He's principally a misdemeanor attorney. And Stephen Freeman is a new attorney in our office, and he's got 31 open cases at this point. He's coming along nicely. He's a good attorney. He's been an attorney for about 30 years here in the state of Michigan. I've known him for quite some time. And the misdemeanor caseload is also listed. Some of the felony attorneys still have misdemeanors that started when before we took over the felony cases. So some of the felony attorneys also have misdemeanor cases. Harold Downer, who is assigned to Judge Goostree, has 87. David Jones is doing a terrific job. He's a young attorney. He's been assigned to Judge Bates' courtroom and primarily domestic violence. He's got 104 cases open that he's handling now. He's got a high resolution rate. He actually is the Harold Downer is the only misdemeanor attorney so far who's had a jury trial in district court. Not sure why that is. They just don't seem to be going. They seem to fall at the last moment. I also wanted to discuss with you, talking about the numbers of trials that are scheduled, number of trials that we've had, just what goes into a trial. I'm going to start with misdemeanor cases. We've talked about arraignment before. It's the first court of appearance of the client. There's going to be an entry of plea, either guilty, not guilty, or standing mute, and the judge or magistrate will then set bail. And I talked about how important it is to have representation there as far as bail is concerned anyway. The next hearing that would occur in a misdemeanor case would be the pretrial conference, and that's basically a discussion between the prosecuting official and the defense attorney to try and find a resolution of the case, short of going to trial or pleading guilty to the charge, some sort of plea negotiation, see if we can't resolve the case at the pretrial stage and move on. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Many times, we don't have all the information that we need in order to properly advise our clients. We don't have all the police reports, we don't have all the videos, we don't have all the recordings, so we can't really evaluate the case as to whether we should go to trial or whether we should accept some sort of a plea offer. And that's what kind of slows the case down, because if we can't do that at that point, oftentimes the judge will set a second pretrial conference, they'll call it a final pretrial conference. Hopefully we'll have all of our reports, we'll have everything, all our ducks in a row, we'll be ready to move on the case, either resolve it or set it for trial. Another thing, yes, sir?
Commissioner Duckham.
Okay, your employees are always at the arraignment bails.
Yes.
How often are you there by yourself? Does the prosecutor always show up there too?
The prosecutor usually does not show up at arraignments unless it's like a murder or a homicide, a CSE, something like that. A lot of times they'll show up for those. Misdemeanor cases, almost never. And a lot of, they don't appear at felony
But you
cases.
said it's a very important step in the process.
It is for us, yes, and it is for our clients. And the prosecutor, if they did show up at these, I understand that they're staffing issues, but if they did show up at these, possibly a lot of these cases could be resolved right there at the arraignment. And there have been cases where we have resolved them right at the arraignment, where the evidence that we have, the police report that we have, and statements of our client indicate that, yeah, this is a case that the prosecutor is going to win. They're going to get a conviction. So then we try to resolve it short of a plea to the charge or a trial.
That would streamline the court proceedings.
That's what we
remove
like
a lot
to do.
of their cases where they're backed up. Second question, sir. Statement. You seem to be very skillful at hiring qualified employees.
Thank you. Thank you. It's difficult. I'm looking. We're searching for 2 more attorneys right now. I had a couple of terrific candidates. One was from Philadelphia. He's a federal public defender for the courts in Philadelphia. He and his family were moving back to Michigan. I made him an offer, but he told me that he'd already accepted another position after his interview. I was very impressed with that man. Also, another young man from Florida, same thing. Lots of experience with public defender work, criminal defense work. Found another job somewhere else, Washtenaw County. And then I had a woman who was very well qualified, licensed to practice in Florida, but had taken the Michigan bar and waiting for results and things like that. She has decided to stay where she is. Whatever happened, she just changed her mind. But it's difficult to find quality attorneys.
Not that I fully support such a qualified group of guys, but you're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
I
bud.
appreciate that. As I was saying, even at the pretrial stage, if we have the information we need to evaluate a case, we can properly advise our clients whether they should pursue a trial or whether they should take an offered plea. So that's what's important. If we haven't got that, then again, we'll have a second pretrial. And in the past, we're seeing less and less of it now, but in the past, it has gone beyond that. They would not have the information, so we'd adjourn it again. And then we'd have to adjourn it again. So you might end up having 3 or 4 pretrials before you ever get to trial. Also, at the pretrial, we get orders from the court indicating when discovery is to be delivered, if you're going to file a motion, when it has to be filed, and when it has to be argued prior to trial. Sometimes we'll argue motions at the beginning of the trial before the jury is seated, but generally we try to take care of any pretrial motions prior to the date of trial. That way there's no, we don't have a jury sitting in the waiting room waiting for us to get started. We have, oftentimes there are pretrial motions. There are a lot more pretrial motions in circuit court than in district court misdemeanors. We just, what that is, basically a motion is just asking the court for something. You go to the court and say, look, I don't have this information from the prosecutor, please order them to give that to us. Or I need to have a witness appear by Zoom rather than in person, things like that. It's sort of a cleaning up of the case a bit. Then there are 2 types of trials in district court. Misdemeanors you can have, well, felonies as well, but you have a trial by the judge. It's generally referred to as a bench trial, and that's where the judge will sit as a trier of fact and as the finder of fact and decide the legal status. What I'm trying to say is he applies the facts to the law and makes a decision based on that, based on what he heard, the evidence that was in the court. Then, of course, there's the trial by jury, and, of course, the jury is seated in district court. There's going to be 6 jurors. Sometimes there's an alternate. That doesn't usually happen because alternates are usually, in case the trial's going to be a lengthy trial and somebody might drop, one of the jurors might drop out. But that doesn't happen very often in district court. Often those misdemeanor trials are half a day at most, depending on the issues. The jury is chosen by the attorneys and by the judge. Some judges do it differently. Some judges ask all the voir dire. Voir dire is just questioning the jury members or prospective jury members to determine what they know about the case, whether they have any opinion, whether they think they have any bias, things like that. That's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find a fair jury. Some judges will do all of that themselves and then at the end say, Mr. Defense Attorney, do you have any other questions you'd like to ask that I didn't, or something like that. Other judges will let the attorneys do the complete voir dire, and that just is a series of questions that we ask the proposed jurors. We'll seat 6 of them, and we'll ask questions of them, try to determine whether they can be unbiased and make a fair decision based on the facts. And we also try to explain what evidence is. So not everything that you hear in a trial is evidence, just things that are admitted into evidence. If we do have a jury trial, then the jury is the finder of fact. They're the ones who determine what exactly happened in the case based on the evidence presented in trial, and the judge will then apply the law and make a decision. Well, the judge will instruct them on the law. They make the decision on whether the jury will make the decision on whether to acquit or to convict. Sentencing is also a very important stage. It's the last stage, generally, unless there's an appeal. What happens is if there is a conviction or a plea, the person is, in some cases, generally not traffic cases, but other cases like domestic violence, retail fraud, larcenies, things like that. The client is referred to the probation department. And the probation department in district court will do an investigation, social history, criminal history, contacts in the area, whether they have support in the area, family members and whatnot. And then they'll prepare a pre-sentence report and recommendation that will be distributed to the attorneys and to the judge. And that's basically what the sentence is based on. Now, the attorneys on both sides are given the opportunity to address the report, argue for additions, deletions, or corrections to the report if they feel that some of the information is incorrect. And prosecutor does the same. And also the defendant is permitted allocution. That means that he gets to address the judge and tell him why what sentence he thinks is appropriate, or whatever he wants to say basically to the judge, or she wants to say to the judge, to try and convince the judge. We can also suggest alternative sentences. Instead of going to jail, maybe a tether, home arrest with work release, things like that, so people can keep their jobs, pay their fines and costs, keep their homes, and keep their kids in school and whatnot. So that's basically what a misdemeanor trial consists of, a misdemeanor case consists of. And some of our attorneys are doing that with over 100 cases. And they're doing it well. We've got a fine crew. I do appreciate the acknowledgement. We do have a fine crew, a fine group of attorneys and support staff. Very happy with what is going on. I just wish we had more. And just got to find them. So we're out looking for other ways, other places to advertise, looking for attorneys, qualified attorneys. It's coming around. On a final note, I was hoping to be able to tell you that we're moving into our offices, the new suite at the courthouse, next week. Unfortunately, the office furniture has been delayed until like the 23rd or something like that. So we've got the space, but we don't have the office furniture. I think IT is almost set up. All the electrical's done. We're also waiting for some inspections of the mechanicals so we can finish the ceilings and get that in. But we'll have 5 or 6 offices ready to use once that furniture is delivered. We've already started stocking. All the carpeting is laid. It's painted. It's a nice space. I invite you all to come over and take a look at it sometime. I'd love to take you through it if you'd like. And that's all for my report. Do we have any questions?
Committee members, any questions? Commissioner Bear and then Commissioner Williams.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Got a question relative to the way cases are assigned to different attorneys. Looking at the attorney caseload felonies, one individual has 104 cases, somebody else has 5.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of reasons for that. The attorney with 104, he's got cases that carried over from before, and some of these are new hires. They just come in, and we're building their caseload. Like Steve Freeman, for instance. I think he's got 31 cases. I don't recall it right off the top of my head. But, so he's fairly new. He's only been there for a couple of months. But he's taking on cases. And also, a lot of things changed when Eric left, because he had close to 100 cases. Well, I guess he had 84 cases, and those were split up between the other felony attorneys. Basically, I've got attorneys who do felony work and attorneys who do misdemeanor work. I don't move them around. That gets confusing. It happens a lot in felony cases anyway, where the prosecutor's office will, and most prosecutors' offices do that. They rotate the attorneys through the different courtrooms. What happens is, once they rotate, somebody rotating into that courtroom is picking up a bunch of cases they've never seen before. So they have to get ready on all of these cases. And sometimes it's near a trial date. So you might walk in on a Monday, find out that you've been assigned to a different courtroom, and you've got a trial scheduled. So we don't do that. We have people who are responsible for felonies, people who are responsible for misdemeanors, and that's the way they go. Now, sometimes we blend a little bit. If we've got an attorney who normally does misdemeanors, who takes a special interest in a felony case, and if I think they're qualified and I think they can handle it, I'll assign it to them, or I'll assign them to sit second chair on the felony attorney who's handling that case. That's working out.
Commissioner Williams.
Good morning. So a couple of questions, just to kind of pick up where Commissioner Bear kind of started. For me as a non-attorney, to see and hear that we have individuals with 104 cases, that seems like quite a bit. Is that pretty standard for an attorney, for a defense attorney?
In fact, under Standard 6, 150 is the maximum number of felony cases an attorney can carry during a year.
Okay.
So we're all under that.
Okay. Next, I know a lot of courtrooms and things are still using Zoom. Is that a benefit, or is it helpful to your office at all, and to your clientele?
Yeah, it's helpful. We can go either way, really, because our misdemeanor attorneys are in the courthouse every day, basically 8 to 5. At one point or another, the misdemeanor attorneys are going to be in the courtroom, in a courtroom, or in the courthouse. But Zoom works well. We use Zoom for all jail arraignments. In other words, the courts don't have the sheriff transport prisoners for their arraignments if they're in jail, if they're incarcerated. We do that by Zoom. Generally, the inmates eat at, I think, 5:30 in the morning. So the attorney that I have now doing the jail arraignments, he usually comes into work about 7:30, 8:45. He likes to work. He's a retired doctor. Sometimes he comes in at 6:30. But anyway, he starts making calls over to the jail to talk to his clients as early as he can to get the information that he needs. He fills out the sheet to see if they are eligible for our assistance. We'll do the arraignment whether they're eligible or not. But for further representation, we do that analysis at that time. And then about 11:30 in the morning, we'll get a list of arraignments, jail arraignments from the court. And hopefully we'll have the sheets on all those already. We can get the information through JIS and everything. So we get a jump start in the morning. We try to find out who's in jail, who's going to be arraigned before we get the list from the court.
Okay.
Once we get the list from the court at 11:30, sometimes 12:30, then the arraignments are all at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and by then our attorneys the attorney who's doing the jail arraignments is ready to go, and we can just zip right through them. Instead of doing an arraignment, stopping, talking to another client, doing that one and stopping and talking to another client. He's already talked to him, so we just zip right through it.
Okay, so that was actually, the end of that was part of my next question. I know one of the reasons as to why the office was instituted in Michigan, so that individuals having an opportunity to speak to an attorney prior to their time in court versus, 5 minutes before they walk in the door. So that's good to hear.
That's incredibly important because what I've seen, I've been practicing law for 32 years, and I've been doing criminal law for most of that. A lot of people will walk into a courtroom at the arraignment if they're charged with a minor charge and just plead guilty, just to be done with it. It's just too much out of their day. They know they're not going to be incarcerated. It's going to be fines and costs, probably no probation, so they just walk in and they plead guilty. When there may be valid defenses. Maybe what they did wasn't really illegal, and they don't know that. So that's why it's important to have an attorney there to help guide them through them, let them know what their choices are. I don't know if you've been in court and watched the court do arraignments, the judge will ask questions and just move right along so quickly that most people who are there for the first time have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Let's see. So you mentioned about losing attorneys to various areas of Washtenaw County and then others just staying where they are. Do we by chance know, and maybe this is more of an administration question, but do we by chance know what the percentage is in terms of pay that Washtenaw County is paying versus Jackson?
It's pretty close, actually. The people that we've lost to Washtenaw County generally are from that area.
Oh, okay, so it's just going back.
So they're looking for something, and they apply. We interview them. They look like they're going to work out, and then Washtenaw County will say, well, they also apply to Washtenaw County. Mm-hmm. Then Washtenaw County will make them an offer. It's about the same money. Maybe they make a little bit more in most cases.
So it's not drastic?
It's not drastic.
Okay.
Now, there was, Eric went to the Defender's Office in Detroit, Neighborhood Defense, I think it's called, and he received a great offer.
Sure.
It was much closer to his home, and it was $15,000 more than we could pay him.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So you just can't blame somebody like that.
Sure.
You just can't do it.
And then my last
One of our
question.
best attorneys.
My last question I have is as one who is a supporter of the office, again, having that opportunity for everyone to plead their case with the help of an attorney is something that I'm very excited to see that Michigan has and moving forward. However, I am concerned with the layout of funding for this office? Because in the event that the governor, our current governor changes their mind, or a new governor comes in and doesn't want the program, or or they'll say that we can continue the program, but it's 100% funded by counties. In the event that that change were to come, have we had conversations about how to continue if we were to lose funding?
Well, it's all statutory. It's not something the governor can just change. It's legislation, so.
Of course.
The legislature would have to change the laws in order to disassemble the system that they've built.
And we've seen that happen. So I guess my question is understanding how it works.
Yeah.
In the event that, things are changed, the laws are changed.
Yes.
Opinions are changed, how do we move forward?
I think that's above my pay grade. I have no way to answer that question. I look at it practically. The state has already put so much time and effort into this, and it's gone so far, and it's been shown to work so much better than the old system. I just can't see the state discontinuing funding. I just don't see that happening. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, seeing that, and I would hope that that's the case, but seeing that we're going to soon be coming up on a potential election, we have some candidates who have differing opinions on this particular office, and so I would, just to be on the safe side, I would begin to start having some conversations in the event that, this is changed.
Well, that's something I can certainly raise with my regional manager from MIDC, and see if they've heard, if she's heard any rumblings, or anybody over at MIDC. Deb would know something about that, definitely would know something about that. But I haven't heard anything. In fact, it never crossed my mind until now.
Well, good. Well, hopefully we'll be good to go then. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trav. Nothing further.
Okay. Thank you. I just have a couple comments. I want to thank you for showing the case breakdown. I think it's important in the judicial system, not only that the defendant has a fair chance, but the prosecutor's side isn't overburdened. So I appreciate you being able to show us that so we can make a comparison to the prosecutor's side. My only other question is, you mentioned losing attorneys to Washtenaw County, and now we hear not necessarily because of salary, but it's also important to me to know what our prosecuting attorneys are making in comparison to our defense attorneys. I'm wondering if you can give us the salary information.
Well, as far as I know, it's pretty even. Again, it's within a couple $100 per level.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty.
Well, that pretty much answers my question.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for the report. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, Angie. It takes us to Jackson County Department of Transportation, Rice Ave Culvert.
All right, good morning. So our first item, and only item besides our monthly for once, is the Rice Avenue Culvert. This is a local road in Leone Township. The existing culvert is a 4-foot culvert, so per our local road share policy, it's a 50-50 cost share with the township to do this project, and Leone is on board with that. So we're asking the board to approve Contact Engineering as the low bidder for the 13-foot 4-inch by 3-foot 10-inch 54-foot culvert. JC Dots Crews will install this internally. Just to answer some questions up front, Contact is from Mason, Michigan. St. Regis is Charlotte, and then Jensen is Sandusky. So they are within 2 hours of driving for all the bidders, but Contact is the one we're requesting, and that's Mason, Michigan. And then concrete versus aluminum. Concrete does have a longer life expectancy, but we got estimates for it. So to get a 75 to 100-year life expectancy, it was about $110,000 to purchase that. So a third of the cost to get an aluminum, which has a 50 to 75-year lifespan. So we went with aluminum because our crews can put it in. Concrete, our equipment, we could put it in, but we'd have to rent equipment to lift it most likely. So that is it.
Committee members, any questions? Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. Same old question I ask all the time. Although Mason is close, it's not Jackson County. Did we receive any bids or send out any bids for Jackson County?
So to my knowledge, we wouldn't have a supplier in Jackson that makes them. We send it out. It's put on through CoPro, not GoPro. So they're eligible to bid if there is someone, but I think it would be a third-party vendor if we were to purchase it from someone here in Jackson.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if no other questions, this is an action item, and I'd be looking for a motion to approve. Moved by Duckham, supported by Walls, and we can do a roll call vote on that.
Commissioner Bear,
Yes.
Commissioner Walls, Commissioner Duckham,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Chairman Kennedy,
Yes.
passes.
All right. So, I think last time I was up here, I said we were taking the salters off. We have done that, and we are out now preparing for construction season and patching potholes. So our first slide is just a picture of our crews cleaning some catch basins, and then using the hydro dig to deberm, or remove the country curb, as people call it, on our roads that builds up and blocks water from getting into our ditch line. The next pictures are us installing some culverts. And then a patching map. So for the month of April, we combined all of our weekly patching maps to show what roads we touched with patching crews, because we were concentrating on getting the holes filled as much as we could prior to starting construction season. So we did focus for, I think it was just over 2 weeks on Leone, because Leone had a lot of potholes. So we did concentrate some crews there and then moved outward. We have crews now in each garage working, so there's 2 or 3 crews in each garage out in their areas. Yeah, that's a good one. So just to refresh everyone's memory, the methods of filling potholes that we use, we have 4 Durapatchers, which is the left picture that sprays the emulsion and then the stone and creates a nice, pretty permanent patch. I can't remember the lady's name, but Twinkie says it is a nice patch on his road, so the dog that walks the road. Then we have the Python, which is up for discussion still, but it is out there patching. That one right now is chasing, I think you guys used to hear it, chasing the fires. So we have that one reporting out to get the potholes that are huge tire busters throughout the county, because it does drive faster. But it, again, has cold patch on it. That's the only material we can use on that. We can't use hot patch. And then we have crews out doing hand patching the far right with hot mix. So any day the plants are open, we've got crews getting some hot mix to do a permanent patch in potholes. So,
Commissioner Duckham.
Good morning, Angie.
good morning.
Didn't we buy machinery to create our own hot patch?
So the Begala, yes, when you look at my next slide, so see how I have it called out here, cold patch HMA, reclaimed HMA, so that's the Begala. It makes about 8 tons an hour, but we have a pile of millings that or not millings, this machine needs chunks, so it's not the fined up aggregate, but chunks that we remove from like pavement removal on projects or different things, or when our crews are out patching and it hardens in their box, they'll come dump it there, because then we reclaim it in the Begala. So yes, we have that, and we are using that daily.
Are we restricted to warm weather use of it only? I thought that machine was supposed to give us hot patch in the cold weather months when the plants weren't open.
It gives it to us earlier than the plants open, but it does not work well in the winter months.
8 tons a day, or an hour, that's a lot of hot patch, isn't it?
It's about 2 trucks.
Okay, it just seems to me, and I don't know your end of the business, it just seems to me like what we're doing is not quite getting it done.
Well, unfortunately, it's about all we can do right now, given the budget. I know that everyone's used to us having contractor patching that gets out there with the hot mix and fills every single hole, and they can get through it in a month and a half. We don't have that in our budget, so we're doing the best we can. We're keeping up on the 30-day requests. We haven't had any go past that. We have a big construction season, so we're trying to balance it all.
Okay, there's, like I said, it seems like we're not quite there, is all.
Remember, though, I kindly to remind you guys that it wasn't until April 18th that the hot mix plants open. So a lot of the stuff that you guys have in your memory is that cold mix that just doesn't stay.
But we had a fairly mild winter, it was up and down.
Yeah.
We did-
Mild for us, temperature-wise, but not mild for the roads.
Well, we didn't have a lot of sub-zero weather.
The ground still froze, so we had a lot of freeze thaws. The
That's what
water,
I'm
and a
getting-
lot of water, if you remember the flooding, so that then gets in the cracks, and then if it freezes again, it pops. So we
But if
have,
we have weather where we have flooding issues, it seems like we would have weather where we could have been making our own hot patch and keeping up with the game.
The temps were up and down, Phil.
I know they were up and down, but it was 2 or 3 days here and 2 or 3 days there.
right, but our guys were in plows. We were chasing the salt, putting salt on those ice spots.
When we had flooding.
It was only for a day or two, and then it would freeze again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the next slide is the patching material. So I'm trying to keep track, and I'll continue to report the materials we use to give you guys an idea on how much we're putting out there. So the cold patch, hopefully you'll see those numbers go down dramatically. We're only using that in the Python, and then when the plants are closed, whether it be from rain or they break. Then we have our HMA tons, the reclaimed. I'll put in parentheses Begala, so you guys remember that that's the machine that makes about 8 tons an hour. And then the two to the right are the stone emulsion, that's for the Durapatchers. The next slide is just an overview of our construction season. We have over 30 miles of construction to get through this year. And next month, we'll highlight what types of projects and where they are, because I know it's really hard to see this spaghetti map. We'll give you more detail next month. But our crews are, besides filling potholes, they are preparing for construction, so we've got some crews working on curb removal, drainage structure adjustments, different things out in the field, preparing for projects. And last month, it's not in here, but or not last month, last week, we did the milling on industrial and we started paving on, I can't remember, a D word, Duno, a road. We're paving last week. And then the last slide is just an update. If you guys remember, Mike Rand left our agency in the fall, and Carly is our new safety coordinator. And one thing, when she got into looking at our safety items, she found that our defibrillators were outdated and not recommended for use. So she went searching because we got a quote we have 9 of them, and it was going to be $17,000 to $22,000 to replace them. But she was able to successfully get a grant and get them all for $9,500. So we now have new defibrillators. One is in the front office, one in each garage, and then we have one in each assistant super's truck, so we have 4 out in the field in case of emergency to use. And just a picture of that to show you guys. We have the scan code next to it in all locations. And I think that's it for our monthly.
Committee members, any questions? Ms. Commissioner Duckham and then Commissioner Bear.
Morning, Angie.
Good morning.
Looking at these numbers, I was really surprised. We applied in April over 640 tons of asphalt material. I was surprised at that number. I didn't think it was anywhere near that many tons.
We could have paved half a mile of road.
Thank you.
Commissioner Duckham.
Short. How much have you not received? From MTF? I don't have the numbers off the top of my head right now where we are for MTF this year. I think we're breaking even right now, to be honest with you. It hasn't shown a decrease yet. They're predicting it to decrease this summer, though. Yes. We are pretty much breaking even for this year. If we can continue, so we have very limited overtime in our budget this year. And if we can restrict the overtime, which limits pothole filling, then we'll break even for the end of the year. We won't be short. Correct.
If I may, just, I think well, in my mind, the question perhaps is, we have less money, well, I mean, we're not hiring contractors. Why is that if we have the same amount of money? See,
Because we do have construction contracts. We can cut construction and not do the construction items that we have on the agenda and then fill potholes. But then we're not getting ahead of the game. The roads that we have on the agenda will further us along. Those roads will be in good condition. We won't have to fill the potholes on them anymore. So it's a mix of fixes. You guys have had that term.
Yeah.
We have to keep the good roads good, or else we'll be even, I know it's bad this year, but if we were to focus on cutting projects and just patching, we'd be 10 times worse next year, and the year after, and the year after. Roads don't hold together with potholes. I agree.
I believe Commissioner Williams had a question.
Yes, thank you. So when we are doing our patching, how many guys do we have on the road at the time?
So,
Let me rephrase that. So in the winter, we have guys that are out plowing, and then guys that are out doing cold patch. What's the numbers there? Does that make sense if I ask it that way?
guys out plowing and doing cold patch in the
Yeah,
winter?
does that happen at the same time?
No.
So it's one or the other?
In the winter, I guess there are times that we could have, if the snow comes through just a corner of the county, then we could have some guys out doing some pothole patching. I can't think of a time this winter that happened, though, honestly. Yeah, it's one or the other.
Okay. So when we are patching, how many do we have on the road at the time?
So the most that we get out for crews is about 13 to 15 pothole crews. And that's because it's not just the two people that are actually, like the driver and then the person that's shoveling the mix or doing the operation with the Durapatcher. We also have to have on the higher 55s, which is what we're doing the majority of right now, have to have traffic regulation. And then you have to have some sort of equipment to roll it. So they're trying to put a couple of crews in one area so the lane can, you only have one traffic regulation set up for it. because there's so many potholes on one road. But as we get caught up on the really bad roads, then it splits those groups into smaller numbers of pothole filling crews because you have to have that traffic regulation. So it varies. Right now, maybe it will answer your question, with our operations doing construction, what we have is 2 to 3 in each garage. So about 9 at the most filling potholes.
Okay.
So when you say traffic regulation, describe that for them, please.
So whether we have an arrow board out there and then just one person maintaining traffic, but it's typically 2, 1 on each end of it. It's a smaller moving operation, so we don't have to have people on the side streets typically, but just stopping with the stop paddle
Sure.
traffic.
So we could have anywhere between 2 and 9 individuals on a road.
2 and 9, yep, that's a good number.
Okay.
Per crew, yep, depending on how many trucks are in that operation.
Okay. And you said we roughly have around 13 crews.
On a good day,
On a
yeah.
good day.
So before we started construction, we had 13 to 15, depending on where we were. And, if we were in subdivisions, subdivisions don't really require the traffic regulation. We just pop up some signs, they know we're in there because it's slow. But when we're out on the 55s, we need that traffic regulation.
Okay, thank you. And also, how do we, how do we develop, and this may be a long answer, so if you could just simplify it, but how do we decide, let me go this way. How do you develop your patching map? Is it based on calls that come in, or?
So if we have 2 or 3 crews in a garage right now, we have 1 crew that is chasing Q alerts. Unfortunately, we have to, because if they age, the 30-day rule of thumb. So they are putting out the fires. In Clark Lake, it's the Dura Patcher that's typically doing that. But then they look at, so our assistant soups drive the roads. They can see, like Valley Heat was a really bad road. They prioritize that to have the 2 crews go up and down that. So they're out there driving it before they assign crews to prioritize and decide how many crews should be on a road.
Okay.
So it's call-driven, but also we have proactive patrolling with our assistant superintendents to figure out where to put them.
Okay. Okay.
And then they are following up. I know a question has been asked, are we following up on the work they're doing? They are now for sure doing that, since I've talked to a couple commissioners.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. So I have had an opportunity to speak with commissioners from all over, and just having some really good conversations as it relates to the road department and things of that nature. And so I'm curious if, in terms of material, are there other materials that we could be using to put on roads so that they last a little bit longer?
There are materials, but they're not cost-effective for us, unfortunately. Our roads, if we were, say, 10 years ago, and the roads were in pretty good condition and just had a few potholes, then we might look at buying some of the more permanent material that we see at different conferences and things. But unfortunately, a lot of our roads are at their end of life. So if you put that material in, the road just crumbles around it.
Oh, okay.
So it's a waste of our money.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately.
Okay. And then my last question was, I know that there was an update on some information that we've been collecting as it relates to the Cascade Lagoons. And I know that, I think it was last Tuesday or something like that, there was a meeting or something?
Yeah, and it's on the agenda at 10 today, too.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, Commissioner Bear.
Good morning, Angie. Your 2022 capital improvement plan,
Yep.
your treatment category, you have a category overbanding. I'm not familiar with that. What is overbanding?
So crack seal might be a term you've heard. It's where we have the little cracks, so we put that rubberized material so that the water doesn't get in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Angie, I want to thank you for your work. It's been a brutal winter. I want you to know that, you took some tough questions today, but we appreciate the work. Really sounds like, to to get, we need more reconstruction projects, and if we want to do that, we need to figure out a way to get more funds. That's really what it comes down to. But let everybody know that we do appreciate the work.
We will. And we do have the machine. We can use our 3,800 to grind up roads if townships are on board with it. But
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Takes us down to other business. Need a motion to pay the claims.
So move.
Moved by Williams, supported by, was that Walls? That was Mr. Bear. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to other minutes, of which there are none. Goes to reporting schedule for June. We'll have the Jackson County Department of Transportation semi-annual report, animal shelter, and emergency management. That takes us to our second opportunity for public comment. I don't see any members of the public here. So public comment is now closed. Takes us to committee member comments. Are there any committee member comments? Commissioner Bear.
Well, I need to let Chairman Shotwell know this. I have been on the Emergency Management Advisory Council. I enjoy that committee, but unfortunately it meets at the exact same time that the Fair Board meets. I haven't figured out how to be in two places at the same time yet. Working with the Fair Board, even on their bylaws update, their bylaws state that if you miss 3 meetings, you're off the committee. So I cannot attend the Emergency Management Advisory Council and the fair simultaneously, so I need to resign from the Emergency Management Advisory Council.
Thank you for the notification, Commissioner Bear.
May I, sir?
Yeah, Chairman Shotwell.
Commissioner Bear, would you be open to having a conversation with another commissioner who'd be willing to serve? Because Commissioner Alexander has stepped up and said he's interested, and explained to him what's involved.
I would be glad to.
Okay, maybe we can get that, and then we can take care of it Tuesday night. Thank you, Commissioner Bear. I appreciate your service, and I appreciate you being on the Fair Board. You've helped us with a lot of different issues down there that I don't understand, and I appreciate that.
See no other committee member comments. Meeting adjourned.